This is my handy integer rule card, and it's actually a double-sided card. Um, it's got multiplying and on one side, so I call these the tidy up rules. This is for multiplying, and then if you were to fold this and then glue this down on a piece of card, like the one I've got, which I'll show you in class, this would go on the back side, and this would be for adding and subtracting integers. So we have multiplying on one side of the card and adding and subtracting on the other side of the card. And it's a really handy, neat thing to keep in your binder. If you're not good at integers, or you need a little bit more review, or you'd like to use these rules instead of what you already know. So let me just explain what these are. I think they're very simple, and you just can't go wrong with integers if you use these. So these ones you probably remember from last year. When you're multiplying a negative and a positive number, you get a negative number. A positive and a negative, you get a negative. A positive times a positive gives you positive, and a negative times a negative number will give you a positive. Okay? So notice also that the rule here is, and since you're a little bit older, and you might know this already, you can figure this out for three numbers or four numbers or five numbers which you're multiplying. And the general rule is if you have an odd number of negatives, your answer will be negative. So notice we have one negative, one negative. Our answer will be negative because that's an odd number of negatives in the question. Here we have no negatives, so obviously we're positive. Here we have two negatives. That's an even number. If I had four negatives, six negatives, eight negatives, my answer is going to be positive. Okay, so that's the tidy up rules. When you're multiplying, you have to get rid of, you can't have two signs next to each other. So you have to always use the tidy up rules first. Now going to the back, once you've tidied up things and you always have just one sign in front of each number, and adding and subtracting is the same as using integers. It all means the same thing, really. So let's look at what this means. Here I have a positive 3 and a positive 4. How do I put them together? Okay, that's might be called adding, but it doesn't really matter what we call it. We just have a positive 3 and a positive 4. And notice that there's not two signs in between here. That's what I mean by tidy up first. You can only ever have one sign in front of each number. And the sign in front of the number always belongs to the number, not the sign after, okay? So it's a positive 3 and a positive 4. So two different things, okay? So it's like two people in the class. Like they have two separate names. This one is called positive 3 and your friend is called positive 4. That's just their names. Okay, how do we put that together? If the signs are the same, keep the sign and add. So yes, the signs are the same. So I'm going to keep the sign, which means my answer is going to keep the sign, positive, and I'm just going to add the two numbers. 3 plus 4 is 7. I get positive 7. Okay, what if they were both negative? Well, I'm going to use the same rule because both the signs are the same. So this is if they're both the same. This one's negative 3. Now I have negative 4. Keep the sign this time. It's negative. Keep it. 3 plus 4 is 7. I get negative 7. Okay, very easy, very little thinking involved. You don't have to worry about using a number line, and you don't have to rely on your calculator. It's so easy, you just know it's right. But if you're not sure, you can check on your calculator. Okay, what if the signs are different? So here I have a positive 2 and a negative 9. The signs are not both the same. Okay, they're different. I have a positive and a negative. So what's my rule? Keep the sign of the higher number and subtract the two numbers. Okay, so the higher number is 9. Okay, now we're not thinking on a number line like positive 2 and negative 9, which one's higher, because it's a little bit abstract thinking. So just think of we're separating the numbers and the signs. So just 2 and 9, 9 is a bigger number. That number has a negative sign, so that's the sign I want to keep. Notice my answer. I'm going to keep the sign of the higher, and the difference between 2 and 9 is 7. So I subtracted the two numbers without thinking about integers. Okay, I get negative 7. Easy. Let's try it again. So I have a negative 5 and a positive 7. Keep the sign of the higher number. 7's higher. It has a positive. My answer is going to be positive. The difference between 5 and 7 is 2. Instantly, we're done. I get an answer and it's correct. I don't have to think about a number line. We don't have to think about moving left or right or, counting chips or what have you. Perhaps you learned about integers in a different way before, but I just find this method to be very, very easy. And if you do have difficulty, try to grasp these concepts and become integer experts. Okay? And if you'd like a copy of this card, you can certainly ask your teacher to download it or print one off and glue it on a piece of card and maybe cover it with some plastic film to make it all shiny and protected and hole punch it and keep it in your binder for the rest of